Pumpkin pie, put that shit right in your eye. Time a little breakfast. Got myself a microcosm of a little bitty Rice Krispies. A little micro bag. Rice in a crispy. Grab my oat milk. Oat milk.
And those rents are so high, she says, it's impossible for them to save up for a down payment. Neil has proposed a cap on corporate landlords 3 times. That has recovered.
Corporate landlords.
Has blocked it most recently last month. So what does she make of?
If you can be a landlord, you can be rich. Especially if you got a lot of. Pumpkin pie, put that shit right in your eye. Time for Mickey's morning breakfast. Listen in the morning edition, I think it's over now. I think I'll just stick with Ned for now.
Emotional attachments to technology or even suffer breaks from reality. Now some of those users and loved ones are turning to each other for support. Kind of like AIAA. Listen to the NPR app on this public radio station. This is NPR News.
And this is WPR News.
I haven't had Rice Krispies
Good morning and thanks
probably
for being here on this Tuesday. WPR's
15 years.
A story in just a couple of minutes. It is obviously the 1-year anniversary of Donald Trump taking office for his second term, and we're going to take a look at the immigration policies and how they've been affecting Wisconsinites. That story is just a few minutes away on Wisconsin Public Radio. Current and emerging issues with the decidedly Wisconsin point of view.
Hearing new voices and new discoveries about something I never knew existed in Wisconsin.
It was just kind of one of the best ways I could ever characterize.
Pumpkin pie, put that shit right in your eye.
Wisconsin Today, weekday mornings at 9.
It's almost 8. It's up at 6:30 to go drop, old lady or
Children's Theater of Madison.
child care job.
Of Tolkien's The Hobbit. February 7th and 22nd in the Starlight Theater at My Arts. More at ctltheater.org. Support also comes from the DSSO, featuring music by Liszt, Dvorak, and Sibelius, plus the 9th Symphony.
It is like
January 31st.
negative 7 degrees outside. That's
DSSO.com.
fucking cold, man.
It's morning edition on Wisconsin Public Radio at 7:44. Here's what's happening in news. Corporate chiefs and government
Yeah.
are heading to Davos, Switzerland this week to gather. U.S. President Donald Trump is heading there.
It is Tuesday.
Sidelines of the forum.
20th.
California Governor Gavin Newsom recently slammed Europe's response to Trump and Trump's threat of tariffs to Europe. He told those leaders to, quote, have a backbone. A federal judge has refused to temporarily block the Trump administration from enforcing a new policy requiring a week's notice before members of
Rice
Congress
Krispies?
visit immigration detention
They're not
facilities.
snap, crackling, and popping
The
though.
judge to intervene after 3 Democratic members of
Like you used to be able to hear 'em.
were blocked from visiting an ICE facility near Minneapolis this month.
Maybe a little.
This is WPR News.
I'm a lot deafer.
NPR comes from this station and from the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, supporting books, radio, podcasts, film, television, theater, and more to bridge science and the humanities. From Eric and Wendy Schmidt through the Schmidt family Schools Foundation, working toward a healthy, resilient, secure world for all. On the web at theschmidt.org. And from the Skoll Foundation, dedicated to powering social innovators to transform the world. Learn more at skoll.org.
It's Morning Edition on Wisconsin Public Radio. Thanks for being here on this cold 20th of January. Today marks 1 year since President Trump was sworn in for his second term. This week, WPR is taking a look at how the administration's...
We're only 1 year under the Trump belt.
1 year in. His first day back in
Christ.
the Oval Office, Trump signed a slew of immigration-related executive actions. The crackdown has continued from there with massive enforcement operations in cities across the country and immigration detentions hitting record highs. And as Bridget Bowden reports, immigrants in Wisconsin say they're feeling more afraid than ever.
Soledad Alvarez works a few times a week at the community space in Whitewater.
So I made a video the other day. I titled it, "I am an illegal immigrant."
People line up to get food
I mean,
and household items.
if I was in another country, I would be illegally immigrated. But I am an American, United States citizen. I'm also a half-breed. Federally recognized tribe of Ojibwe. French Ojibwe. Otherwise Chippewa.
It's been a year of uncertainty since Juan Sandoval was picking out clothes at the community.
And I just wanted to see what happened. Like if ICE would show up and be like, "We saw your video. Come on. Whisking you away." Pumpkin pie, what does it write in your eye?
The letter attracted attention from some politicians who said it proves that the U.S. immigration system is broken. It was even cited in a Trump executive order. It was a difficult time for the immigrant community. But since then, he says communication with the local police has improved.
That the Whitewater Police Department is here to protect our community, not
But he says that progress is now been overshadowed by the fear created by Trump's immigration crackdown. He's especially concerned that immigrants are being portrayed as criminals.
which I think is right, because most of us would like to study, to learn English, to go to college.
According to data from the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse, more than 70% of people currently held in ICE detention have no criminal conviction. Islas Martinez says advocates do their best to help people manage their fear by picking up groceries, taking kids to school, and bringing people to the community space.
We go day by day.
Mickey's talking about like
The situation is getting worse and worse, and
a pumpkin pie in your eye.
And the federal 287G program, which allows local law enforcement agencies to partner with ICE in various ways. They argue it creates a pipeline from contact with local law enforcement to deportation. The Illinois County Sheriff's Department signed on to that program last year. Sheriff Osby says he believes it allows for the
Well,
to maintain their creativity.
Yesterday we deep cleaned the downstairs bathroom.
While Trump's
Basically took everything out of the damn thing.
he believes federal immigration authorities are
Had to kill some harvester spiders.
Still, Jospy says laws could be changed.
They seem to be, I don't know, they like these places. Wiped down the walls, wiped down, sprayed everything down. Got that done. Got some more laundry done. Did dishes, made more dirty dishes, made a pumpkin pie. Drink like 5 hurricanes between me and the old lady.
Bringing us that important context of immigration enforcement and its impact in Wisconsin. Tomorrow we'll have a story about the impact of cuts.
Shoveled the driveway this morning and got up.
10 minutes before 8 o'clock now on Wisconsin Public Radio.
I'm Pam Schwarzbach. My husband, Ford Country, and I are the
Day 7, I think.
Our lesson is an outdoor restaurant here in Madison, Wisconsin. It is very frequent that we hear from customers. We heard you on public radio today. More than any other thing that we do to promote our business, it is public radio that we hear our customers thanking us for. We find that public radio definitely resonates with our customer. Learn more about business sponsorship at wpr.org/sponsor.
It's morning edition.
Cleaned out one of the
Wisconsin Public Radio.
closets for the most part downstairs that's outside of the bathroom.
Today, and overnight a winter weather advisory kicks into effect in southeastern Wisconsin. Could see anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of snow in that part of the state tonight. This is WPR News.
Maybe some good news for home buyers? Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Odoo, offering software that provides building blocks for creating a custom software suite. Odoo.
So we'll probably just keep tackling some laundry today. Finish cleaning out that one closet. So I can start kind of organizing stuff.
And Zillow recently released a report with some potentially good news for prospective buyers.
Guess I'll just
Their researchers
fucking
say homes will become affordable in more metro areas.
strewn about
This is Carla Javier brings us
randomness,
affordability. To be clear, homes are suddenly becoming
untidiness.
way more affordable for everyone, says Orfe Diwungi at Zillow.
Not really any tidy places
Three factors.
in this house as of yet.
Mortgage rates have actually fallen relative to a year ago. And then the third factor is, of course, price growth.
Oh, the living room's a little tidy. I
That median income households buying today
tidied that up, but there's so much stuff.
Which is high. But it's
Like
actually
too much
the best
stuff.
it's been
Organization
since August
of
2022.
too much stuff
and Zillow
can be near impossible when you don't have enough room for things.
by the end of the year.
So that's going to be an issue.
Home payments, including property taxes and insurance, is the affordability rule of thumb, says Eric Mariboja at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Still working on the kitchen.
Spending more than 30% of their income on housing costs, then it means
A lot of old,
For Jessica Louts,
stale,
National
outdated,
Association of Realtors,
rotten,
affordability
moldy
this year, I think it's a
stuff
very
that's
mixed
gotta
picture.
be dealt with.
She's watching close all
Think maybe
streets too.
maybe I'll do that today. The plan is to just pull everything out of the cupboards like you normally would for a deep clean. Stage everything, out of the cupboards. Get everything out of the cupboards. Wipe down the cupboards. Clean them up. And then start going through whatever's in them. I'm not even sure, but some things I found, a lot of just, like I said, old shit that is unhealthy. We don't want to eat it. Staleness, like I said, just a lot of the dishes that we pulled out were hardly clean. Like whoever did them last fucking shit job. So if we're getting deep clean, that's the process. Pull everything out. Wash everything again. Clean everything up. Wipe it all out. Put it back up. Organize. Get some organization to it. It seems just randomly shoved here and there. There's no consistency. For good organization, you want to have places for things instead of always having to dig around.
That's why when it comes to wealth management, Schwab is dedicated to giving investors more choices. More at schwab.com.
A lot of junk drawers with stuff people most likely
GEP is at the forefront in agentic procurement orchestration and autonomous supply chains. The Supreme Court will hear oral arguments tomorrow in the case around President Trump's bid to hire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook over
HR people around the country deal with for cause all the time. How do you understand that idea of firing for cause?
Well, when Congress writes that, the point is that the president has to have it.
Trump is a felon, and he has that felon mindset, it seems. Just do whatever. No regard for the rule of law. Do whatever you selfishly feel like you could do. That's like criminal mentality, attitude towards anything. Obviously, to become a felon, you have to break the laws because you don't give a shit about the laws. That's how you become a felon. I don't think felons should be able to be president, honestly. You can't be governor. You can't have, hold state office. Why in the fuck would they allow a felon to become president of the United States? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, you can't even own a gun as a felon. You can't vote until you're off of your probation. Can't own a gun ever unless you get pardoned, obviously. Those motherfuckers that attacked the Capitol never should have been pardoned.
Have led us astray here, and the court were to side with the.
Why can't he just pardon himself then?
I guess we live in a world where the Fed is closer to, I don't know, the National Security Council, where those members serve at the pleasure of the president.
The president's a criminal.
Will, I don't know, shake our central bank.
God, he's a felon.
It has potentially explosive implications for how the Fed governors make their decisions, but also more importantly, what markets think about the Fed and their commitment to low inflation. And that's what so many people are paying so attention to.
Sarah Bender is at Brookings and George Washington University. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Our producers are London, Vegas, Enriquez, Rosas, and Erica Soderstrom. Our senior producer is
Anyway.
Schroeder. Our supervising senior producer is Meredith Garrettson Norby. In Washington,
You'll have some pumpkin pie.
Marketplace Morning Report.
Pumpkin pie, put that shit right in your eye. Pumpkin pie right in your eye.
Businesses play an important role in our communities and in funding quality news, talk, and music on WPR. Join at WPR.org.
A little bit more oat milk.
Support also comes from the BRIC, a nonprofit organization.
Goat milk.
Financial assistance to qualified
Here's the pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie, I put that shit right in my eye.
This is WPR News.
President Trump is trading texts with world leaders. He said he wants Greenland in part because he didn't get a Nobel Peace Prize. France's president.
Jesus Christ.
What he's doing. This morning edition from NPR News.
That's fucked up, man. That's fucked up, Jack.
Michigan Governor witnesses Trump's hurt manufacturing, but how does she answer a union that supports them?
Pumpkin pie right in your eye.
Also, Netflix says it's prepared to pay all cash for Warner Brothers and HBO. The Pentagon claims control over the editorial leadership of news site Stars and Stripes.
college for my sociology major. It was sociological problems was the class. In the book we had, one of the books we had to read was called The Wilding of America. And the term wilding had to do with how people, before regulations, they were doing things, you know, like little shady things, business like greed, a lot about greed, corporation greed, and shiesty stuff happening, illegal things, and it seems like people forgot about wilding, the wilding of America, and it just seems now with Trump, that's totally what's going on. It's crazy. Like, it doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like we're living in a wholesome America anymore. Like, not everyone, you know, I just feel like maybe as far as countries around the globe, like it's like everyone wants to be the winner, everyone wants to be on top and the best, but it just doesn't seem right. Like, oh, we gotta be the best, most powerful, controlling country, and everyone else isn't, you know, equal in things. So that seems like wilding. Like, you gotta be number one, and I think the world needs to be recognized as number one, and not any like one place over the other.
But Democrats argue that Republicans are limiting recording to restrict the public's access to what's going on inside the Capitol.
We ought not just be thinking about just ourselves and like getting everything. Like, that's a problem.
It depicts her 4-year-old daughter in a wheelchair sitting on the side of the stage as the other children perform on risers. Vogel uploaded the video of the 2023 concert in December 2025 after a friend's daughter from the school district of Pittsville in Greene County. The video has nearly 1 million likes.
You have to have some humility. You have to be humble.
Officials, the video is harassment. 2 days after it was posted, the district sent a letter.
It's all not just take.
Police also visited her home. Her attorney says that's
It's not just become more powerful.
District Administrator Jason Knott says the video has
It's about showing some
misunderstandings and threats of violence towards staff.
some compassion, some
Project is training students to collect aquatic insects that can be used to track the health of waterways across Wisconsin. The benthic net project gets its name from organisms known as benthic invertebrates. They live on the bottom of streams, lakes, and rivers, and they include wild insects. The project aims to train students to identify and preserve specimens collected from waterways. Jeff Dimmick manages the aquatic biomonitoring lab at UW-Stevens Point. He says the critters can be monitored to track.
It's like, look at teetotalers.
And in waterways. High temperatures will be getting into the single digits today with wind chills below zero despite some sunshine across Wisconsin.
Look at him.
Advisory in southern Wisconsin overnight. 2 to 4 degrees installed in that portion of the state. Elsewhere, cloudy and cold tonight. More news at WPR.org. This is Wisconsin Public Radio.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include FJC, a foundation of donor-advised funds, working to maximize the impact of charitable giving and to create customized for-profit solutions. Learn more at fjc.org.
It's Morning Edition from Michelle Martin.
And I'm Steve Inskeep. We have a story of very personal diplomacy. President Trump has been texting world leaders, and they have been texting him.
In one message, Trump quoted Norway's Prime Minister that he's going to see Greenland in part because he did not receive a Nobel Peace Prize. That was Trump's explanation for shaking the most important U.S. alliance and disrupting the world order. Overnight, Trump shared messages he received. One comes from France's president, who tries flattery on Trump, but then raises the issue of Greenland and proposes to discuss it over dinner.
Now, world
Wow.
face-to-face at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. NPR White House correspondent Daniel Kurtzleben is covering all this. Daniel, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
What's the U.S. delegation doing in Europe?
Well, today, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will be speaking in Davos. Then Trump is scheduled to talk on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, there's what the White House is calling a charter announcement for the Board of Peace that Trump created to oversee reconstruction in Gaza after the conflict he's been trying to end between Israel and Hamas. In terms of substance, we don't know much yet. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett has suggested that Trump will unveil a new housing policy. Beyond that, we know he likes to talk about tariffs, and days ago, he threatened to tariff goods from 8 European countries if the U.S. has a deal to acquire Greenland.
Okay, thank you for raising that. For those who didn't follow the news over the holiday, what were these threats about tariffs?
Well, Trump posted that he's going to impose 10% tariffs on those 8 countries starting on February 1st, then raise it to 25% in June. That is until a Greenland deal happens. Now, we don't really know details here. I've asked the White House, for example, what law would even authorize this, and I haven't received word yet. But those European countries, meanwhile, they're all NATO members, and they've all said they stand in full solidarity with fellow NATO member Denmark, as well as with Greenland, which is part of the
And Trump has certainly drawn
I don't know why NATO's sitting back on its haunches too for the
messages with world leaders. What are
Russia and Ukraine.
Well, maybe most famously over the weekend, Trump texted the Norwegian Prime Minister that because Trump didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, he no longer feels the need to think, quote, purely of peace, adding that the U.S. should have total control over Greenland. Now, of course, the Norwegian government does not decide who gets that prize. White House spokesperson Anna Kelly elaborated to Ed that Greenland is important for national security, and that Trump thinks, quote, Greenlanders would be better served if protected by the United States. That's
Then again,
certainly not how everyone sees it. In that
I don't really know what's up.
President Emmanuel Macron
I don't think we know everything
said at one point, I do not
happening in
understand
Europe
what you are doing in Greenland.
about Ukraine and how Russia's
You're doing a
just
great job in Syria. Let's get together for dinner. But this is not the only thing Trump is doing on the world stage. There's also that Board of Peace you mentioned, which is what?
Well, that is something that Trump laid out when he talked about how he wants to solve the conflict between Israel and Hamas, and that announcement, that charter announcement that the White House talked about is happening on
I still say
Thursday.
damn Putin.
We've learned more about that charter recently.
Damn.
According to a copy obtained by NPR, permanent seats will cost nations $1 billion each, and Trump is set to be the permanent chair. And as our colleague Daniel Estrin has reported, the charter says there's a need for a more effective international peace-building body, which makes some fear that the board is attempting to create a rival to the UN. So we're keeping a close eye on that. Russia says Trump has asked President Vladimir Putin to sign on as part of the board. So it's unfair to what he'll do, and not what U.S. allies will do.
Okay, and here's Daniel Kurtzleben. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
President Trump's aggressive moves on Greenland and immigration, among other things, has even some of his supporters questioning his priorities and tactics. So we've called someone who got a close-up view of President Trump in his first term to ask whether something has changed. Miles Taylor was chief of staff at the Department of Homeland Security. He wrote anonymously about resisting some of Trump's impulses from the inside. That's before he revealed himself and backed Joe Biden for president. He has since become a target. President Trump yanked his security clearance and told DHS to investigate him. He now leads a nonprofit called Defiance.org that helps people push back against the administration. He's with us now. Good morning, Miles. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
Good. So let me start with
what I do.
He did talk about this in his first term, but during
Drink
your
malt
time
liquor.
in the administration, was this seen as a serious discussion?
Stop bullying.
Is there something different now?
Here's the thing. I mean, Donald Trump always says controversial things, and then aides come
Drink
out and
more
say
malt
that he's
liquor.
joking, but they're not usually jokes. These are trial balloons. And if there's too much blowback, he'll
Stuff like
wait
that.
until a period where he can move something forward, and if there's not, he'll move forward on the controversial idea anyway, and people will see it's not a joke. Greenland was one of those things. When
founding of America.
Well, look, I would go back to the joke.
Probably Reachley.
The past 10 years, Donald Trump has joked about locking up his political opponents. He has joked about deploying troops to U.S. cities. He joked about not conceding the election in 2020, and we learned the hard way that these things weren't jokes. And anytime he was talked down off the ledge, it was because of sensible folks around him who tried to keep him from going that direction. Another thing he pushed for in the first term was invocation of the Insurrection Act. I remember on the eve of the State of the Union in 2019, I got tipped off by aides at the White House that the president was thinking about slipping language into his speech to invoke that act. Of course, this was disturbing because we didn't think any circumstances in the United States justified that there was an invasion or a rebellion. So we rushed to the White House, met the president in the math room where he was practicing the speech, and convinced him to drop those lines out of the speech. But again, keep in mind, this is something he has wanted to do since the first term. He saw the Insurrection Act, this is his words, as his, quote, magical authorities. He saw it as the apex of his power, and he has been looking for an excuse to implement it. The only difference is he's brought on people who are willing to carry out those orders.
So yeah, in your view, the president hasn't changed. It's the people around him that have changed, and they are unwilling or uninterested in tempering some of these impulses.
Susie Wiles said something revealing a month ago about he said that he had an alcoholic's personality, but Donald Trump, of course, is a teetotaler. He doesn't drink. What I would say, and I don't mean this facetiously, the man is drunk on power. He is addicted to, he is deeply
Teetotaler, I just mentioned that in the vid, now I just mentioned it on the radio.
You can imagine that the greatest demonstration of his power domestically would be to send a
Drunk on power.
to enforce his edicts. It is something he has, again, talked about for nearly 10 years, and he sees the opportunity to do it with limited to no pushback inside of his administration. The question will be, will the Article 3 courts do something about it? And I strongly suspect that this will be challenged, if he does it, almost immediately by the state of Minnesota, if not other states.
Let me ask you about something else, and this is a difficult thing to talk about, because when you're ever talking about people's personal behavior, this always raises questions of, whose standards are we applying here? Who says or who cares? But the president's use of profanity. I mean, he went to this auto plant the other day. He made this obscene gesture at a heckler who yelled something at him that he didn't like, and this seemed to have been heard to utter an epithet. Again, his staff continues to defend this, but it does seem that he is more unfiltered. We heard him uttering expletives in public comments much more frequently than I think we did in the first time. I just wonder if you have noticed that yourself and what you make of it.
Look, I'm not a doctor, but I think observing this man from afar, you can conclude he is unwell. He is irascible. He is angry. He is quick to impulsive remarks and judgments. Not that this was incredibly different from the first term, but it's a Donald Trump more unhinged than I think people saw in the first administration. And you're seeing that as if there was any filter before. Now it seems to be gone.
Well, again, I'm not a doctor either. Neither of you. You certainly haven't examined him in any professional capacity here. But I guess it makes me wonder whether did he use that kind of language in private before in the first term? We just are now being exposed to it publicly because perhaps he just feels more comfortable in doing so. I mean, we've known that, people sometimes talk that way in private, and they forget perhaps that other people are listening. But I'm just wondering if it's as you said before, that this is the behavior that was the before behavior, and now we're just seeing more of it, or it has something substantively changed.
Well, I'll give you two direct examples on that, Michelle, is, when he said S-hole countries in the first term, that was something he continued to repeat in private, even after aides denied the president had called third world countries S-hole countries. He continued to say that in meetings. Or a second example would be Somalis. He called the Somali people, Somali Americans, garbage in private. He referred to them derisively. I don't know what the president's biases are towards people from Somalia, but these are things he said in the first term in private, in the Oval Office, and in a second term. He's now said those things publicly and almost proudly, and that just says to me that he's let that filter go.
That's Miles Taylor, who's former chief of staff at the Department of Homeland Security. He now runs a group called Defiance.org. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Michelle.
We reached out to the White House for comment on Miles Taylor, as you might imagine. They were insulting both his work and him personally. Their statement ended with, quote, "No one should believe anything he says," unquote. This is NPR News.
And this is WPR News. It is 8:19. Good morning. It's a very cold Tuesday. I'm glad you're with us today. We've got lots more to get to here on the program, including a one-on-one interview with Governor Gretchen Whitmer of neighboring Michigan. She's going to be talking about tariffs, the
It's a morning.